March the 18th, 1993. I have been asked to recite the shooting of Dan McGrew, part of which I used to know from memory, most of which I've forgotten. So I will attempt to read it. A bunch of the boys were hooping it up in the Malamute Saloon. The kid that handled the music box was hitting a jagtime tune. Back of the bar in a solo game sat the dangerous Dan McGrew, and watching his luck was his light of love, the lady that's known as Lou. When out of the night it was 50 below and into the din and the glare, there stumbled a miner fresh from the creeks, dog dirty and loaded for bear. He looked like a man with a foot in the grave and scarcely the strength of a louse. Yet he tilted a poke of dust on the bar, and he called for drinks for the house. There was none could place the stranger's face, though we searched ourselves for a clue. But we drank his health, and the last to drink was the dangerous Dan McGrew. There are men that somehow just grip your eyes and hold them hard like a spell. Such was he. He looked to me like a man who had lived in hell, with a face most hair, and the dreary stare of a dog whose day is done, as he watered the green stuff in his glass and the drops fell one by one. Then I got to wondering who he was and figuring what he would do. I turned my head, and there watching him was the lady that's known as Lou. His eyes went rubbering around the room, and he seemed in a sort of a daze, till at last that old piano fell in the way of his wandering gaze. The ragtime kid was having a drink, and there was no one at the stool. So the stranger stumbles across the room and flops down there like a fool, in a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt. He sat, and I saw him sway. Then he clutched the keys with his toweled hands. My, how that man could play. Were you ever out in the great alone when the moon was awful clear, and the icy mountains hemmed you in with a silence you could hear, with only the howl of a timber wolf, and you camped there in the cold, a half-dead thing in a stark dead world, clean mad for the muck called gold? While high overhead, green, yellow, and red, the northern lights swept in bars. Then you've a hunch what the music meant. Hunger and night and the stars. And hunger not of the belly kind that's banished with bacon and beans, but the gnawing hunger of a lonely man for home and all that it means. For a fireside far from the cares that are, four walls and a roof above, but oh so crammed full of cozy joy and crowned with a woman's love. A woman dearer than all the world, and true as heaven is true. My, how ghastly she looks through her rouge, the lady that's known as Lou. Then all of a sudden the music changed, so soft you could hardly hear, but you felt that your life had been looted clean of all that it once held dear, that your guts were gone, and the best for you was to crawl away and die. 'Twas the crowning cry of a heart's despair. It thrilled you through and through. I guess I'll make it a spread misere, said dangerous Dan McGrew. The music almost died away. Then it burst like a pent-up flood, and it seemed to say, repay, repay, and my eyes were blind with blood. The thought came back of an ancient wrong, and it stung like a frozen lash. And the lust awoke to kill, to kill. Then the music stopped with a crash, and the stranger turned, and his eyes they burned in a most peculiar way. in a buckskin shirt that was glazed with dirt. He spoke, and I saw him sway. Then his lips went in a sort of a grin, and he spoke, and his voice was calm. "Boys," says he, "you don't know me, and none of you give a damn. But I want to state, and my words are straight, and I'll bet my poke they're true, that one of you is a hound of hell, and that man is Dan McGrew." Then I ducked my head. The lights went out. 2 guns blazed in the dark. A woman screamed. The lights went up. 2 men lay stiff and stark. Pitched on his head and pumped full of lead was the dangerous Dan McGrew, while the man from the creeks lay clutched to the breast of the lady who's known as Lou. These are the simple facts, and I guess I ought to know. They say the stranger was crazed with booze, and I'm not denying it so. I'm not so wise as those lawyer guys, but strictly between us two, the lady that kissed him and pinched his poke was the lady that's known as Lou.